Russian soldier narrowly escapes from a drone. Russian soldier trying to hide from the drone. Secret trenches are being destroyed by kamikaze attacks. Ambushes set up on logistics routes. Failed operations. Airstrikes. Ukrainian forces raid Russian trenches. Stay tuned for more. July 17, 2025. Ukrainian Special Forces carried out a successful raid behind Russian lines in an area close to the Russian Federation border. Close contact was made with Russian trenches and fighting began. Ukrainian soldiers are extremely experienced and surrounded Russian soldiers. The operation is being carried out not only on the ground, but also with FPV drones. Ukrainian soldiers are carrying out simultaneous attacks with drones. Ukrainian soldiers continue to attack Russian soldiers with intense firepower, giving them no respite. Finally, one soldier shows himself to surrender. Only one Russian soldier is coming to surrender. A total of 7 Russian soldiers were neutralized during the operation. The surviving Russian soldier finally surrenders. No harm was done to the soldier who surrendered. Ukrainian soldiers continue to carry out operations even far away from the central front. The Ukrainian military's Predator drone team continues to track Russian vehicles on Russian logistics routes. Numerous Russian military vehicles have been destroyed by FPV kamikaze drones. An FPV kamikaze drone targets the interior of a ruined house. Although there appears to be no movement, a Russian soldier who thinks he is hidden is inside. The Russian soldier tried very hard to camouflage himself, but it didn't work. A high-ranking Russian soldier was crawling toward the bushes, wounded. He was aware of the drone following him, but there was nowhere to hide here. A kamikaze drone is sent to the Russian soldier under the tree. He becomes the drone's target. When the Russian military drone is detected, it decides to remain stationary. This turns out to be its biggest mistake. It is unclear why Russian soldiers often remain motionless when confronted by drones. However, it may be part of their training. The Ukrainian 63rd Mechanized Brigade launched a massive drone strike. It hit Russian targets with FPV drones in the harbor area. In just a few hours, a truck, an SUV, a motorcycle, 2 guns, 3 mortars, an electronic warfare device, a Starlink, and a generator were destroyed. The inability of Russian forces to take any measures against Ukrainian drones has caused heavy losses since the beginning of the war. The drones are skillfully operated by their operators. Attacks are carried out with precision maneuvers, even in the most critical areas. A large number of Russian weapons are being destroyed. Russian forces are losing strength in terms of ammunition and weapons in the trenches. July 16, 2025. Ukrainian fiber-optic FPV drones belonging to the Signum Battalion strike Russian logistics vehicles, motorcycles, and soldiers. 2 Russian soldiers guarding one of these logistics routes become the target of a drone. Russian soldiers fire at the drone to shoot it down, but fail. There is nowhere left to run. This time, a Russian soldier on a motorcycle is captured. Once again, Russian soldiers are standing guard along the logistics route. Russian forces have taken no measures against drones along such a critical route. A Russian soldier running through the trees tries to escape from an FPV drone. The Ukrainian drone operator is determined not to let the Russian soldier get away. Eventually, he becomes the drone's target. The Ukrainian 81st Airborne Brigade's Apache Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Attack Unit neutralized Russian soldiers and equipment with fiber optic and traditional FPV drones. 36 drones were used in this drone operation in the direction of Bilohorivka. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. July 16th, 2025. Members of the Ukrainian Wormbusters, part of the 414th UAS Brigade Magyar's Birds, neutralized 3 Russian soldiers in the direction of Pokrovsk. As the soldiers were about to emerge from the wooded area, FPV drones were immediately dispatched. When one of the Russian soldiers was neutralized, the other two soldiers began to flee in different directions in a panic. But the drones are constantly tracking them. 3 Russian soldiers also lost their lives. July 15th, 2025. In the dense forests of the Sumy region, Ukraine's elite 225th Assault Brigade executed a devastating aerial assault on entrenched Russian forces. Over the course of 3 days, the brigade employed a range of unmanned aerial vehicles, including FPV kamikaze drones and thermal imaging reconnaissance units, to identify and eliminate enemy positions with pinpoint accuracy. Using thermal optics, Ukrainian operators were able to detect hidden Russian infantry deep within tree cover. Once identified, fragmentation munitions were dropped with lethal precision. The drones struck not only personnel, but also critical trench lines, obliterating entire sections of the Russian defensive network. Many Russian soldiers were caught unaware, leaving them no time to react or escape. In the city of Vovchansk and its outskirts in the Kharkiv region, Ukrainian forces are continuing aerial reconnaissance and strike operations using FPV drones. These drones, operated remotely by trained personnel, are being used to identify and target Russian infantry positions with increasing accuracy. The Russian soldier spotted in front of the building tries to shoot down the drone at the last moment, but fails. July 13th, 2025. A Ukrainian Su-27 fighter jet launched an airstrike with 4 GBU-39 guided bombs on 2 buildings housing Russian armed forces personnel in the village of Petrivka, Belgorod region. 2 Russian soldiers are found stuck in a swamp in a lake. Before they can escape, they become the target of an FPV kamikaze drone. 2 Russian soldiers are caught in a wooded area. One is sitting and the other is sleeping. They don't have a moment to escape. A Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter jet dropped 4 GBU-39 bombs on a Russian military base in Oleksivka, Kursk region. The incident was observed by unmanned aerial vehicles belonging to the 33rd Assault Regiment. A Russian soldier is targeted by a FPV drone in a field in the Andriivka region. The soldier notices the drone, realizes that he cannot escape, and tries to shoot it down as a last resort. After a few shots, your gun runs out of bullets. Eventually, the inevitable end comes. Ukraine's 33rd Assault Regiment launched an airstrike on Russian positions in the Kursk region. A large number of Russian soldiers in the building were neutralized. Many abandoned buildings were converted into Russian military command centers. A Russian soldier climbed a tree to take cover against an incoming drone. It doesn't seem to have worked. Ukrainian samurai unit downed a Russian Supercam reconnaissance UAV. Ukrainian FPV drone operators launched an attack on a house occupied by Russian soldiers in the village of Oleksivka, Sumy region. After the attack, the soldiers panicked and ran out of the house, whereupon they were attacked by FPV kamikaze drones. Two soldiers were seriously injured and left lying on the ground, while the other Russian soldiers abandoned the wounded and tried to take refuge in another house. However, before they could enter the other house, they became the target of an FPV kamikaze drone. 6 Russian soldiers lost their lives in these attacks. The Ukrainian Air Force carried out an airstrike on a trench where a large number of Russian soldiers were located. A high explosive bomb completely destroyed the Russian trench. The explosion was so powerful that none of the Russian soldiers survived. July 17th, 2025. The front line remains largely static, but intense clashes continue across multiple sectors. Ukrainian forces are conducting limited offensive actions using FPV drones, kamikaze UAVs, and long-range artillery to strike Russian positions, logistics convoys, and fortifications. Russian troops have reinforced defensive lines in Luhansk and southern Donetsk, relying heavily on electronic warfare, minefields, and layered trench systems to hold ground. Drone warfare dominates the battlefield. Dozens of daily drone strikes target vehicles, supply depots, and frontline trenches. Both sides are adapting to this evolving threat with anti-drone jamming, signal blockers, and mobile radar systems. Logistical hubs and supply roads remain high-priority targets, especially in Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, and Sumy regions. Frequent attacks on fuel convoys and ammunition transports continue to disrupt operational tempo. The war is increasingly defined by attrition, precision strikes, and tactical resilience.